Hey everyone, welcome to our very first sew along with Sunflower Seams. I am super excited to get started with all of you today. As you know, the pattern that was voted on by all of you is Laurel. So that is the pattern that we are going to start off with. It is on sale for 25% off using the coupon code that you can find at the top of the page in the announcements section. So be sure to use that code whenever you go to get your copy. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and walk through what we're going to be doing each day of the sew along. In total, the sew along will last for 7 days. On the first day, we are going to choose our fabrics, cut out our patterns, and then cut our fabrics for the pattern pieces that you are going to need. On day 2, we are going to be completing steps 1 through 12. This will be creating our bodice for either the top or the dress option. For day 3, we will be creating the sleeveless bodice and top, the top placket, and neckties for all the versions. And this is step 13 through 38. That seems like a pretty big chunk, but some of it's for the top, some of it's for the dress, and really there's not going to be a lot of time used up on day 3. Day 4, we will be sewing side seams and creating and attaching our sleeves. If you are doing the sleeveless option, day 4 is going to be extremely quick for all of you. Those are steps 39 through 52. On day 5, we will be creating the skirt, hemming the top, and adding the finishing touches. So those will wrap up steps 53 through 69. Day 6 will be our catch-up day. So if you weren't able to participate or you had things pop up on any of the days 1 through 5, day 6 is the day that you can catch up, complete any days that you missed, or if you jumped in late, get it all done on day 6, whichever way you want to do it. Day 7 will be the day that you will post pictures of your final garment. These can either be modeled or these can be flat lays. It's just whatever you have time to do. Alrighty, so those are what we'll be doing each day for the next 7 days. So as I stated earlier, it's day 1 and we will be selecting our fabrics, cutting our pattern, and then cutting our fabrics using our pattern pieces. So the very first thing that you want to do before you print, before you cut, before you start anything is to measure the model that you are going to be sewing for. Especially whenever we're sewing for our younger children, growth spurts happen quickly and they can happen overnight. One of the most depressing things that you can do is sew a garment that isn't going to fit the child that it is intended for. So the very first thing you want to do is go ahead, print off page 10 out of the Laurel pattern. The paper that you're looking for is the Body Measurement Guide, and it lists all the different areas that you may need measurements for this pattern. In this situation, trunk and inseam are not important, so you do not need to get those measurements of your model, but chest, height, and hips and waist, if you are completing the top version, are essential in order to make sure that your Laurel is going to fit. So go ahead, add this to your list of what to print off and get those measurements. Also, it is extremely important that you check out page 12 of the Laurel tutorial. Here it walks you through how to grade and blend your pattern pieces for the various sizes that your model may fall into. For example, my daughter is between a 5 and a 6 height. However, her chest measurement is a 4 and her hips are a 2. If I made a straight 5 to 6, it would be way too baggy on her and would not look right. If I made a straight 4, it'd be way too short and we would be wearing our dress as a top. So it is very important that you grade the appropriate areas for the size that your model falls into. Once you know the size that your model is going to fall into, go ahead and check out pages 7 and 8 on your tutorial to find out how much fabric you need for the options that you're choosing. The options that Laurel offers, we have the top version, we have a vintage length version, and then we have a dress version. Each one of those versions, you can either have sleeveless, you can have short puff sleeve, or long puff sleeve. So depending on the options that you choose will base on how much fabric that you need to get. So page 7 is going to have your imperial measurements, while page 8 is going to have your metric measurements. So whichever one you prefer, that's the page that you're going to want to go check out. So now that you know how much fabric you need, you can either go look through your stash to find what you want to use for Laurel, or it's time to hit the store. So for this tutorial, I chose to hit the store, and I went to 3 different ones to find my fabrics for what I'm going to use. For my Laurel dress, I found this really cute fall floral from Hobby Lobby. And then for my sleeveless top that I'll be doing, I found some really pretty floral from Walmart. I just loved the colors in this one. And then I'll be making a sleeveless dress in this pumpkin linen from Joann's. And as you know, there are plenty of pieces to be able to mix and match and do different colors in Laurel. But I'm pretty plain, and I like doing my Laurels in pretty much the same fabric. For my top, I will change up the necktie colors to give it a little bit of contrast, but for the most part, I like to keep all of my pieces the same fabric. But I cannot wait to see what fabrics that you choose. So now that you know which Laurel options you're choosing to sew and you've picked out your fabrics, it's time to either print off your pattern pieces or download it so you can use your projector. If you are using a projector, then you are able to hang tight for just a few minutes. For everyone else, if you are printing your pieces off, then I'm going to walk you through how to do that and how to cut them out. Alrighty, so as you can see, I have the very first page of the pattern on top here, and this page has a lot of important information on it. Here you have your size key. I know a lot of you use the layers option, and it is an incredible option to use so you don't get confused by all the lines. I personally did not use it this go round because I didn't know which child I was going to be sewing for, so I left all my sizes there. But even if you are using your layers option, you might be grading and have multiple sizes you need to decipher between. So this key is very important so you know which size is what. We also have our printing instructions, just reminders on to select actual size and 100% print scale, just to make sure that your patterns print correctly. To double check that your pattern pieces did print correctly, we have our test squares, our 1 inch and 5 centimeter. This is really important to check because if it's off at all, then it will not fit correctly. So I'm just gonna bring my little ruler out, and is exactly 1 inch. So that means we are good to go ahead and start piecing our pattern together. This is a must. Check your test square. Alrighty, so if you check out page 15 of the tutorial, it literally breaks down what pages you need for the different options that you will be sewing. Right now, I have printed off the dress with sleeves. So those are the options that I'm going to be putting together right now. You can put these pattern pieces together in many different ways. Some people use tape. I personally like to use like the good old Elmer's glue. That's my favorite. One, because if you're doing any kind of grading and you're tracing over the lines, sometimes that tape seems to like rub off, and I've had it get on my hand, and then I immediately went to touch my fabric and I got ink smears on it. So I use glue so there is no smearing. Alrighty, so once you have your adhesive of choice, whether it is tape or good old Elmer's glue, you are good to start taping them or gluing them together. Okay, so let's check this out right here. You can see each page has this rectangle around the edge as well as circles in the corners with different letters in them. So what you're going to do is find the pages that line up with the same circle letters. Okay, so you can see on page 72, page 73, I've got my 2 L's and my 2 Q's. So I know that those two are going to go together. And like what I like to do is lay out first before I start taping. That way, if there's any missing papers, or if I accidentally put something together wrong, which unfortunately happens more times than I like to admit, I'll be able to catch it before I start taping and gluing them together. Alrighty, so we've got 72, 73, and you can tell these are going to be our dress bodices. P is going to come down here. There's our bottoms. Alrighty, and we got our sleeve in the making. Excellent. All right, so we have all the pages that I'm going to need. Obviously, if you're doing the top version, you're going to have pages 63 through 71. And maybe even have 72 and 73 involved in there. If you're doing the sleeveless version, you may not have pages 79 and 80. So whatever option you're doing, the number of pages and which pages you have are going to differ. So now that I have it all laid out, I'm sure I have all my pieces. I'm going to start gluing them together. And y'all ignore that this one's a little wrinkly. And we're just going to lay them on top of each other, lining up these rectangles and our circles. So you want to make sure that the circles are exactly on top of each other, like so. And I'm going to go ahead, just for ease, I'm going to do I am not going to glue this page to this page because I'm making a size 5, so I don't actually need this extension part of the sleeve, so I'm not going to glue these together. And you can check yours out and see if there's any exceptions that you can make. I'm a huge time saver, so if you're able to save time and not glue some of the pages together, go for it. Alrighty, so I have all of my pages glued together that need to be glued together. And like I said, I'm not going to attach these pieces because I'm making a size 5 graded. So there's gonna be different sizes in there, but mostly making a size 5. So I will not need the sleeve extension here up to a size 14 because mine ends right here, as well as the 12 and 14 extension on the back bodice because I'll be ending at a 4. So I'm not going to put those together. Alrighty, so once you have your pieces put together, taped together, glued together, whichever way you decided to do it, it is time to cut it out. So remember your grading, remember your blending, and be sure to cut on the lines. After you cut all your pattern pieces, you're either gonna have your dress bodices, front and back. You're gonna have some sleeves. If you chose them, you're also going to have your top front and your top back. As well as for the top, you're going to have your linings. So bodices, tops, linings, and sleeves. Those are the pattern pieces offered in Laurel. So once you have your pattern pieces cut out, it's time to go ahead and cut fabric.